So guys, there's this really interesting dialogue happening in the world of Age of Empires 2, and I think it's worth talking about. You see, we just had a really big update to AoE2 this week. We had a brand new patch come out featuring a whole lot of goodies like new designs for virtually every castle and elite unique unit in the game, brand new units, balance changes that are going to completely overhaul the meta. People are really excited about this patch. I've heard some people call it a new golden age for AoE2. But we didn't just get a patch, we also got a brand new DLC. It's called The Three Kingdoms, and it's a Chinese, East Asian focused DLC. And it's going to feature 5 new civilizations coming to the game. For single player, multiplayer, the ranked experience, the whole thing, right? People, you would think, would be really excited about 5 new civs coming to the game. And they were until those civs were unveiled. And the choice of civilization has left people confused, disappointed, and even upset. And I think this is worth exploring. I want to ask the question why. Why are people upset? Because I gotta be honest, I find myself in a similar category. I'm walking away disappointed, and for the first time really feeling like this is a bad move by the Forgotten Empires team for the future of Age of Empires. It's specifically revolving around the pick of the namesake, the Three Kingdoms, the Wu, the Wei, and the Shu, which I'm probably mispronouncing, and I apologize, but the names of the 3 civs. They are leaving people very disappointed, and I've been thinking about the question of why. Why is it that we're so upset over the choice of these 3 civs? And for me personally, I think the issue is thematics. They don't feel right. They don't feel like they belong in Age of Empires 2, and I want to explore that question. Here's what I've come up with, and I encourage you guys to leave a comment below, maybe sharing what you think, whether they bother you or not, and if so, why? If not, share your thoughts there too. But here's what I think. First, historically, these civs they feel out of the timeline. And of course, there's an element of subjectivity to what feels like it does and does not belong in AoE2, but looking at these civs, they feel like they don't belong in the timeline. There's a sense that this is a medieval era game, going from the fall of the Roman Empire or the last days of the Roman Empire up into kind of leading up into the earliest Renaissance, like the introduction of gunpowder, right? So off the top of my head, anywhere from 400 to maybe 1400 AD-ish, something like that. The Three Kingdoms period, the Wu, the Wei, and the Shu, that took place around 200 AD. So that's 200 years prior to the earliest, or I should say the oldest civilizations currently in the game, like the Romans, the Goths, the Huns, sort of that lower band of the time period. This is a massive jump backward in time, and they feel like they belong much closer into the time period of Age of Empires 1, or the Chronicles DLC that came out recently for AoE2. And Chronicles is going to come up in a little bit. But they feel like they belong into that Chronicles timeline, not mainline AoE2. So that's one thing that makes them feel like they don't really fit. But that's not just it. I don't think that's it. I think there's more to it than that. Second, the Wu, the Wei, and the Shu, those are specific kingdoms, not really people groups. And if we look at the civilizations that are in the game, for the most part, if not all, I've heard some people maybe make the argument that other civs are likewise more kingdom or polity than they are kind of ethnicities. Although personally, I don't really buy that myself. I get the sense that all of the civs in AoE2 right now, they capture a unique cultural identity. Whereas the Wu, the Wei, and the Shu are 3 different, to my understanding, 3 different Han Chinese factions in a civil war, all trying to be the one true China, right? And it doesn't feel right. It feels as if we were going to break up the different clans of the Japanese warring period and give them their own civilizations, or the different duchies and counties of the Holy Roman Empire. They get to be their own civilizations, right? It feels like a break from what defines an AoE2 civ, just a more amorphous and again maybe somewhat subjective concept of cultural groupings and ethnic groupings that make them distinct and unique. So that I think makes them stand out. But also, the third thing, I think that one of the reasons they don't feel right is not just are they, kind of they all belong to the same group, but specifically they belong to a people group already covered by another civilization in the game. The Chinese, who have been in the game since Age of Kings, they're going to stay in the game. We still have the Chinese. But now we also have 3 groups that are sub-Chinese. And this really feels like we're just sort of stepping all over. They should just be covered by that Chinese umbrella. Again, I could see some people maybe making an argument that the Burgundians could belong to the Franks, or the Bohemians could belong to the Teutons or something like that. And I think that's an argument you can make. I don't know that I would agree with it, but I could see that argument. But here it's so clear that you have three civilizations that you really can't make an argument aren't just China, the Chinese, right? They would belong under that Civ umbrella. And maybe it would be different if the Chinese were broken up, like the old Indians were, into the Hindustanis and the Dravidians and all that. If they were broken up, that might be one thing. But the fact that we still have China, the Chinese, in the game, and then we have these 3 subgroups in there too, it feels weird. It feels like they don't belong. We've already got China. Why do we have 3 more Chinas, right? I also think that it bothers people. A 4th reason. I think it bothers people because it undercuts the existence of other options that people were getting really excited about. When we knew that it was going to be an East Asian focused DLC, and we had been told the Chinese are not going to be split, so everyone assumed that meant there wouldn't be other Chinese civilizations. We were thinking, well, maybe it's going to be the Tibet, the Dali, the Bai, the Tangut, these other factions that people are going to be really excited to have in the game. And I got to admit, I'm not an expert at East Asian medieval history, but I was excited to learn and to see those civs in the game. And instead, all of these other civs, some of which people have been excited for a long time as possibly getting into AoE2, they're not making it. And probably, it feels like they missed their shot. They're never going to make it, is I think the vibe a lot of people are getting. And instead of that, we've got 3 duplicates of China. Again, not mechanically. We're not talking about how they actually play, but just thematically, it feels like, well, these are more China civs. That's bothering people. It leads people to say they don't really belong. This doesn't feel right. I think a 4th thing, or 5th thing, if I'm losing count here. No, number 5. A 5th thing. Looking very briefly at the mechanics, these 3 civilizations, Wu, Wei, and Shu, get access to heroes. The 3 Kingdoms period is an amazing period of history, and we have some really gripping historical figures that led these different kingdoms. And so they're showing up in AoE2 as heroes, not just for a campaign, but actually in regular skirmish, ranked multiplayer gameplay. And I think that's bothering people. Now, some people are going to get bothered by this from a mechanics point of view. They'll say, heroes don't belong in AoE2. And I actually disagree with that. I'm excited to see what they do mechanically. I think it doesn't seem like they're going to have abilities in skirmish mode. It's just going to be really powerful, tanky units that have an aura effect, sort of boosting nearby units. And that's new for the game, but I think it's an interesting concept to explore. I don't think that's necessarily a problem. I think people would not be as bothered by it if it were officers, or the general or something like that, instead of named individual historical figures. But talking thematically about named individual historical figures, I think that you have to do either an all or nothing thing, right? I think it's cool that somebody like, if I'm pronouncing it right, Liu Bei, shows up in the game and is a figure that you can actually play within multiplayer. I think that's awesome. But Liu Bei and these civs are not so uniquely cool that only they get access to heroes. To me, it's going to be like an all or nothing thing. He is really cool, but then so is Joan of Arc, so is Charlemagne, or Frederick Barbarossa, or what have you. It's like, why, if you're going to introduce heroes, why these specific civilizations? Because they already feel like, well, they stand out and they don't really belong. This is just one more thing that makes it feel like they're just different and don't fit into AoE2 alongside all the other civs in the game. If you're going to have heroes, named individual heroes, I think you've got to go all or nothing. Maybe you make maps or modes where the heroes show up and they can provide those bonuses. But otherwise, if you're going to have an aura, an elite aura unit, I think you got to do something more like the Centurion for the Romans, where it's just an officer, a general, an unnamed character. And even if you give it a build limit, I think that's cool too. You can have mechanically the same thing, but limit it to, don't make it a named character. Unless you do that for everybody. And then finally, a sixth thing. And I don't see a lot of people talking about this, but it bothers me anyway. It's one of the reasons why I'm upset about the existence of the Wu Wei and Shu. Like I said earlier, they really belong into the Chronicles time period. And so a lot of people are saying, we'll just stick them into Chronicles. What's actually bothering me about this too is it feels like, because they fit so perfectly into Chronicles, it also bothers me that it seems like maybe this is a sign that Forgotten Empires is giving up on the whole concept of Chronicles. That because they fit in so well, you say, well, why don't you invest into this new world that you're creating for Age of Empires 2? I've said in previous videos, I'm so excited for what will happen with Chronicles because it is like a whole new game and a whole new realm to explore and put civilizations into. And if you take these three civs that seem to so perfectly fit into the Chronicles timeline, and then you just put them into regular AoE2, not only does it feel like the feel of AoE2 is getting damaged in some way. I won't get hyperbolic, I won't say ruined, but it feels like it's taking a hit thematically. Not only is that happening in AoE2, but it's also making me ask the question, what's happening to the Chronicles world? And the Chronicles expansion that just recently got released, and the promise of, more an expanding world. I'm not just an AoE2 fan, I'm an AoE3 fan, and we just recently saw the DLC that was promised there, got canceled, and now it feels like maybe they're abandoning that game, and, there are those questions about what's going to happen to, not just AoE3, but then what's going to happen to Age of Mythology after its next expansion, and what's the future for all of these Age of Empires games. So even here with Age of Empires 2, I've got to ask, what's the future for Chronicles? And beyond. So, as I see that the random game that I was casting here has come to a close, congratulations, Kiwiz. I think that's pretty much an encapsulation of my thoughts. And maybe one last thing is, because of all this other stuff that I've mentioned, it kind of feels like It feels like, from a directorial point of view, whoever made the decision to put these civs into the game, it feels like a cynical cash grab for the Chinese market. Like just a very brazen attempt to say, hey, we want to expand our presence in China, so who cares what's in the game right now? Who cares about the thematic integrity of the game? We want to get more people in China to buy the game, and so let's just stick in this Three Kingdoms period, even though it doesn't really fit. Or at least that's the opinion of myself and a decent number of people online anyway, for whatever that's worth, right? It doesn't fit, who cares? We want the money, so we're going to do that anyway. And that, I think, is bothering people too, because Age of Empires 2, for a lot of people, including myself, it feels like more than just a game. This is something, there's a legacy and a prestige to Age of Empires 2. There's something special about this game. And I think this is sort of a legacy product, a prestige product for Microsoft, where this has gone on for over 20 years now, and it's been just cherished by people for generations, literal generations. And so I think you've got to be careful with what you do to Age of Empires 2. And I have loved pretty much everything Forgotten Empires has done up to this point. But yeah, the existence of these three civs, it doesn't feel right. And I sympathize with the frustrations or the confusion or the disappointment of a lot of the community online. And what's sad is, like, I've read from different people, even in China, that they're kind of bothered by this too, because they were excited for, again, the exploration of medieval Chinese history instead of going into the Three Kingdoms once again. It might be that historical time period is oversaturated. Oh, you know what? P.S. Let me add this on too. I am still looking forward to the DLC. I mean, I love this game, and I love what these developers have done, and I really appreciate all the work they put in. This patch that came out for free with all this cool stuff is amazing. So I would encourage everybody not to, rag on the developers. Don't get hyperbolic. Don't say, this is the end of the game or anything. But I do think it's a good thing to flag that this choice feels like a step in the wrong direction, and a dangerous step in the wrong direction for the feel of AoE2, which is so important to why this is a legacy prestige game. Anyway, I think that pretty much covers it for this video. Just wanted to kind of share my thoughts about some of the dialogue and the drama, the discussion happening right now in the AoE2 community. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, give it a like. Let me know what you think about the dialogue going on. What you think about the Civs, what you think about what people are arguing for or against. I'd love to hear it in the comments. But for now, this is Neon Kaiser signing off. Have a great one.